Redux implementation using Java introduction. Redux is a predictable state management pattern commonly used in front-end applications like React. Redux helps developers manage, apply classified application state, logged-in user data, cart data, dashboard filters, API loading states, error messages, global UI state, form-related state, cached API responses. A common learning topic is: how can Java backend developers understand and implement Redux-style state management? This guide explains: C. Redux basics. C. Redux architecture. C. Store. C. State. Actions. C. Reducers. C. Dispatch. Selectors. Redux Toolkit. C. React Redux implementation. C. Java-style Redux implementation. Spring Boot API integration. Real-world example. Best practices. Interview questions. Redux describes itself as a JavaScript library for predictable and maintainable global state management. The official Redux docs recommend Redux Toolkit as the standard way to write Redux logic because it simplifies common Redux tasks and helps prevent common mistakes. Simple definition. Redux is a pattern where application state is stored in one central place and changed using actions. Simple idea. UI component, dispatch action, reducer updates state, store saves new state, UI re-renders. Example: user clicks add to cart. Cart reducer updates cart state, cart count changes in UI. Why Java developers should learn Redux. Java backend developers often work with: check Spring Boot APIs, REST responses, DTOs, service layers, business events, state transitions, request response flows. Redux is useful because front-end state also needs structure. Backend comparison. Spring Boot backend controller means service, means repository, means database. Redux front-end component means dispatch, means reducer, means store. Simple idea. Spring Boot manages server-side business state. Redux manages front-end application state. Redux versus local component state. Feature local state. Redux scope, one component, global application. Best for small UI state. Shared state. Example, modal open close. Logged in user. Complexity, simple. More structured. Debugging, component level, centralized. Use case, input field, cart, auth, dashboard filters. Use local state for input values, drop-down open close, small modal state, temporary UI behavior. Use Redux for check authentication state, shopping cart, user profile, global filters, shared API data, notification state. Redux core concepts. Concept meaning: store, central state container, state, current data, action, event describing what happened, reducer, function that updates state, dispatch, sends action to reducer, selector, reads specific data from state. React Redux includes hooks like useSelector and useDispatch, which let components read state from the Redux store and dispatch actions. Redux architecture overview. React component, useDispatch, action, reducer, Redux store, useSelector. Spring Boot integration. React plus Redux frontend, async API call, Spring Boot REST API, PostgreSQL database. Step 1. Understand store. Store is the central place where Redux keeps application state. Example, store state. Auth is logged in, true. User, ID 1, name Newman. Cart, items. Simple idea. Store equals front-end memory database. But important. Redux store is not a permanent database. It resets when the page refreshes, unless persisted. Step 2. Understand action. Action is an object that describes what happened. Example: type, cart, add item. Payload, ID 101, name, keyboard, price $49.99. Meaning, something happened. Add this product to cart. Java analogy. Public record, add item action. String type, product payload. Step 3. Understand reducer. Reducer is a function that receives current state and action, then returns new state. Example: function cart reducer, state action. If action type equals cart add item, return ... state, items ... state, action .payload. Return state. Important rule: reducer should not call API. Reducer should not mutate state directly in classic Redux. Reducer should return new state. Redux Toolkit uses immer internally, so reducers can be written in a mutating style while still producing immutable updates safely. Step 4. Understand dispatch. Dispatch. Send an action to Redux. Example: dispatch, add item, product, flow. Button click. Dispatch action, reducer updates state, UI updates. Step 5. Understand selector. Selector means read data from Redux state. Example: const cart items equals useSelector state.cart.items, meaning read cart.items from Redux store. Use selectors for cart count, logged in user, cart loading state, error message, selected filters, current theme. Step 6. Install Redux Toolkit. For React app, npm install @redux.js toolkit React Redux. Why Redux Toolkit? Less boilerplate, recommended official approach, easier store setup, easier reducer creation, built-in best practices, easier async handling. Redux Toolkit is the official batteries included toolset for efficient Redux development. Step 7. Create store. File src store.js. Code: import configure store from @redux.js toolkit. Import cart reducer from .features createSlice. Export const store equals configure store reducer cart reducer, meaning application has one Redux store. Cart reducer manages cart state. Step 8. Add provider. In React, wrap app with Redux provider. File src main.jsx. Code. Import React from React. Import React DOM from React DOM client. Import provider from React Redux. Import store from .store. Import app from .app. React DOM .create root document.get element by ID root. Render provider store app. Meaning, provider makes Redux store available to all React components. Step 9. Create createSlice. File src features createSlice.js. Code: import createSlice from @redux.js toolkit. Const initial state equals items total quantity 0. Const createSlice equals createSlice name cart. Initial state reducers. Add item state action. State items push action payload. State total quantity plus equals 1. Remove item state action. State items into state items.filter. Item.id not equals action payload. State total quantity equals state items length. Clear cart. State gets equals state total quantity equals 0. Export const. Add item, remove item, clear cart equals cart slice actions. Export default createSlice.reducer. createSlice helps define reducer logic and automatically creates matching action creators. Step 10. Dispatch action from component. Import useDispatch from React Redux. Import add item from .features.cart.cartSlice. Function product card, product, const dispatch equals useDispatch. Function handle add to cart, dispatch add item product, return, comma, h2, product.name, h2, p, $product.price. Button on click, handle add to cart button, div, flow. User clicks add to cart, dispatch add item product. Cart slice reducer updates state. Cart UI updates. Step 11. Read state with useSelector. Import useSelector from React Redux. Function Cart icon. Const total quantity equals useSelector state cart total quantity. Return a div cart total quantity div. Meaning. Cart icon reads total quantity from Redux store. Step 12. Full cart component import. useDispatch, useSelector from React Redux. Import, remove item, clear cart from .createSlice. Function cart page. Const dispatch. useDispatch. Const items is useSelector. State cart items. Return h1 shopping cart items.length equals 0 and p your cart is empty. Items.map equal div key item.id. Span name. Span $, item price. Button on click equals dispatch remove item item.id. Remove button on click echo dispatch clear cart button div. Step 13. Redux with Spring Boot API. Real-world architecture. React plus Redux. Axios. Fetch. Spring Boot REST API. PostgreSQL. Example. Redux stores front-end state. Spring Boot stores real backend data. Important. Do not treat Redux as the source of truth for permanent business data. Backend database is the source of truth. Step 14. Spring Boot Product API. Controller. At REST controller. At request mapping / API products. Public class product controller. Private final product service. Public product controller. Product service. This product service equals product service. Get mapping. Public list product response. Get products. Return product service. Get products. Response. ID 1. Name, keyboard. Price, $49.99. ID 2. Name, mouse. Price, $29.99. Step 15. Async Redux with createAsyncThunk. Redux async flow. Component dispatches async action. API request starts. Loading equals true. API succeeds or fails. Redux stores data error. createAsyncThunk accepts an action type string and a promise returning callback. Then generates pending, fulfilled, and rejected action types for async request lifecycles. Step 16. Product slice with API call. File. src features products. productslice.js. Code. Import createAsyncThunk createSlice from @Redux.js toolkit. Export const fetch products equals createAsyncThunk products fetch products. Async. Const response equals await fetch. http://localhost 8080 products. If not response.ok, throw new error, failed to fetch products. Return await response.json. Const product slice equals createSlice. Name products. Initial state items is loading false. Error null. Reducers extra reducers. Builder add case fetch products pending is state. State is loading equals true. State error equals null. Add case fetch products fulfilled. State action. State.isLoading equals false. State.items equals action.payload. Add case fetch products.rejected. State action. State.isLoading is false. State error is action.error message. Export default product slice.reducer. Step 17. Register product reducer. Import configure store from @Redux.js toolkit. Import cart reducer from .features cart slice. Import product reducer from .features products product slice. Export const store equals configure store reducer cart reducer products product reducer. State shape. Cart items total quantity 0. Products items is loading false. Error null. Step 18. Fetch products in component. Import useEffect from React. Import useDispatch useSelector from React Redux. Import fetch products from ./product slice. Function product list. const dispatch equals useDispatch. Const items is loading error equals useSelector state products. Use effect equals dispatch fetch products. If is loading. Return loading products. If error. Return p that error. Return div map product fi.tick. Product name $, product price. Div.div. Step 19. Redux authentication state. Auth state example. App is authenticated, true. User ID 1. Name Newman. Email newman@example.com. Access token, JWT token. Is loading, false. Error, null. Use Redux for logged in user info. Log error state. Log error state. Log in log out state. Be careful with access token storage. For production security, token storage strategy should be chosen carefully based on app type and threat model. Step 20. Auth-slice import. createAsyncThunk, createSlice from @Redux.js Toolkit. Export. Const login is createAsyncThunk, auth login, async login request. Const response is await fetch, https:/localhost 8080/API auth login. Method post. Headers, content type application JSON. Body, JSON stringify login request. If not response.ok, throw new error, invalid email or password. Return await response.json. Const auth-slice equals createSlice, name auth. Initial state is authenticated false. User null. Access token null. Is loading false. Error null. Reducers. Logout. State is authenticated false. State user is null. State access token is null. Extra reducers builder. Add case. Login.pending. State takes is loading equals true. State error equals null. Add case. Login.fulfilled. State action equals state is loading equals false. State is authenticated equals true. State user equals action.payload.user. State access token equals action.payload.access token. Add case. Login.rejected. State action. State.isLoading equals false. State.error equals action.error.message. Export const logout equals auth-slice actions. Export default auth-slice.reducer. Step 21. Spring Boot login API. @REST controller. @request mapping. API auth. Public class auth controller. Private final auth service. Auth service. Public auth controller. Auth service auth service. This is auth service equals auth service. @post mapping dot login. Public login response login. @request body login request request. Return auth service login request. Request. Email test@example.com. Password password. Response. Access token JWT token. User ID 1. Name test user. Email testexample.com. Step 22. Login component. Import useState from React. Import useDispatch. useSelector from React Redux. Import login from .auth-slice. Function login page. ID dispatch. Const is loading error equals useSelector state.state.auth. Const email set email equals useState. Const password set password equals useState. Function handle submit event. Event.prevent default. Dispatch login email password dash return h form on submit handle submit. Input value email on change event set email event target value placeholder email. Input value password on change event set password event.target.value placeholder password. Button disabled is loading in logging in error and p error p form. Step 23. API client with token. Better to centralize API logic. Export async function API fetch. URL options equals token. Const response is await fetch URL. Options. Headers. Content type application JSON. options equals authorization bearer token, ... options headers. If not response OK, throw new error, API request failed. Return response.json. Use const token equals getState.auth access token inside thunk if needed. Step 24. Java style Redux implementation. Redux can be understood with Java classes. Action public record. Action T. String type T payload. State public class counter state. Private int value. Public counter state int value. This value equals value. Public int get value return value. Reducer at functional interface. Public interface reducer s reduce s state action double question. Private s state private final reducer s reducer. Public store s initial state reducer s reducer. This dot state equals initial state. This dot reducer equals reducer. Public void dispatch action equals this state equals reducer reduce this state action. Public s get state return state. Step 25. Counter reducer in Java. Public class counter reducer implements reducer counter state. Override public counter state reduce counter state state action. Return switch action.type case counter increment new counter state state.getValue +1 case counter decrement is new counter state state.getValue -1. Default state. Use store counter state store equals new counter state 0 new counter reducer. Store dispatch new action counter increment null. System out println store.getState getValue output 1. This helps Java developers understand Redux internally. Step 26. Redux pattern versus Spring events. Redux action. Dispatch, order created order. Spring event. Application event publisher. Publish event. New order created event. Order ID. Similarity. Something happened. A message, event, describes it. Difference. Redux updates front-end state. Spring events run back-end event logic. Step 27. Real-world case study project. E-commerce app. Architecture. React plus Redux front-end. Spring Boot REST API. PostgreSQL. Redux slices. Auth slice. Product slice. Cart slice. Order slice. Notification slice. Spring Boot modules. Auth controller, product controller, order controller, payment controller, user controller. Step 28. Redux state design. Good state. Auth, user, is authenticated, true. Products, items, is loading, false. Error, null. Cart, items, total quantity, 0. Orders, items, selected order, null. Bad state. Data, things, temp, stuff. Good naming matters. Step 29. Folder structure. Recommended React Redux structure. SRC. 2. App with store.js. Features with auth slice.js, auth login page.jsx. Products with product slice.js, product list.jsx. Cart with cart slice.js, cart page.jsx. Orders with order slice.js, order page.jsx. Services, benefits. Check feature-based structure. Easy to scale, cleaner imports, better separation. Step 30. Redux DevTools. Redux DevTools helps debug. Check actions, state changes, previous state, next state, dispatched events, time travel debugging. Redux has a strong developer experience, including support for time travel style debugging through DevTools. Use it to answer. What action changed state? What was the previous state? What is the current state? Common beginner mistakes. 1. Using Redux for everything. Bad. Every input field goes into Redux. Better. Use local state for small component state. Use Redux for shared global state. 2. Mutating state in classic Redux. Bad, classic Redux. State.items.push product. Return state. Better, classic Redux. Return, state. Items of state.items, product. Redux Toolkit allows simpler reducer code because it handles immutable updates internally. 3. Calling API inside reducer. Bad. Reducer calls fetch. AsyncThunk calls API. Reducer updates state based on pending, fulfilled, rejected. 4. Poor state shape. Bad. One giant app slice with everything inside. Better. Auth slice, product slice, cart slice, order slice. 5. Storing duplicate data everywhere. Same product data copied into many slices. Better. Normalize or keep source data in one place. 6. Ignoring loading and error state. Bad. API call fails and UI shows blank page. Better. Store is loading and error in Redux. Show loading error UI. Best practices. Cock. Use Redux Toolkit. Organize code by features. Cock. Keep reducers pure. Cock. Use slices. Create AsyncThunk for async calls. Cuck. Use selectors to read state. Cuck. Use local state for local UI behavior. Keep state shape clear. Avoid unnecessary global state. Handle loading and error states. Do not call APIs inside reducers. Use Redux DevTools. Separate API service layer. Keep backend as source of truth. Use DTOs from Spring Boot APIs. Be careful with token storage. Redux interview questions. 1. What is Redux? Redux is a predictable state management library used to manage global application state. 2. What is Redux used for? Redux is used for shared state like authentication, cart, user profile, dashboard filters, notifications, and API data. 3. What is a Redux store? The store is the central place where Redux keeps application state. 4. What is an action? An action is an object that describes what happened. Example: type, cart, add item, payload, product. 5. What is a reducer? A reducer is a function that receives current state and action, then returns new state. 6. What is dispatch? Dispatch sends an action to Redux. 7. What is a selector? A selector reads specific data from Redux state. 8. What is Redux Toolkit? Redux Toolkit is the official recommended way to write Redux logic. It simplifies store setup, reducers, immutable updates, and common Redux patterns. 9. What is createSlice? createSlice creates reducer logic and action creators for a feature slice. 10. What is createAsyncThunk? createAsyncThunk is used to handle async logic like API calls and generates pending, fulfilled, and rejected actions. 11. What is useSelector? useSelector reads data from Redux store inside React components. 12. What is useDispatch? useDispatch returns the dispatch function so components can dispatch actions. 13. Redux versus Context API. Redux is more structured, good for complex state, and has DevTools support. Context API is simpler, good for simple shared values, has basic middleware support, not built in, better for small state sharing. 14. Should all state go into Redux? No. Only shared, global state should go into Redux. Local component state should stay local. 15. Can Redux work with Java backend? Yes. Redux frontend can call Java, Spring Boot, REST APIs, and store response data in Redux state. Redux roadmap for Java developers, beginner level. Learn. Store, state, action, reducer, dispatch, selector, build, counter app, intermediate level. Learn. Cert, Redux Toolkit, createSlice, useSelector, useDispatch. Feature folders, cart example, build. Shopping cart app, advanced level, learn. Check createAsyncThunk, check API integration, check auth state, error handling, Check Redux Dev Tools. Check Spring Boot integration. Build React plus Redux plus Spring Boot full stack app. 30-day learning plan, week 1. Redux basics. Learn. Check. Store, actions, reducers, dispatch, selectors. Practice. Build counter app. Week 2. Redux Toolkit. Learn. Configure store. createSlice. Provider. useSelector. useDispatch. Practice. Build cart state management. Week 3. API integration. Learn. createAsyncThunk. Loading state. Error state. API service layer. Spring Boot API calls. Practice. Build product list from Spring Boot API. Week 4. Full stack Redux. Learn. Auth slice. Order slice. Token handling. Redux dev tools. Folder structure. Best practices. Practice. Build e-commerce frontend with Redux and Spring Boot backend. Real-world project. React Redux plus Spring Boot e-commerce app. Features. Call it login, logout, product listing, add to cart, remove from cart, checkout, order history, loading states, error states. Architecture. React plus Redux Toolkit, Spring Boot REST API, PostgreSQL. Redux slices. Auth slice, product slice, cart slice, order slice, notification slice. Spring Boot APIs. Post API, auth, login. Get API products. Post API orders. Get API orders. Redux is useful for managing predictable global front-end state in full-stack applications. Important concepts include key store, key state, key actions, key reducers, key dispatch, key selectors, key Redux Toolkit, key createSlice, key createAsyncThunk, key useSelector, key useDispatch, API integration, Spring Boot backend integration. Java developers can understand Redux by comparing it to structured backend flows. Redux action equals event. Reducer equals state transition logic. Store equals front-end state container. Spring Boot API equals backend source of truth. Key idea. Redux helps Java full-stack developers manage complex front-end state predictably while integrating cleanly with Spring Boot REST APIs.